is R? Nod your head if you're with me. We've got the what is R slide. All right. So what is R? R is a language and an environment for statistical computing and graphics. That comes right from the R site. What does that mean really? It's a language. It is a programming language like any other programming language, but it's one that's optimized for statistical analysis. It's not a stats program. So if you liked Minitab or you really like Stata, you might not like R so much because R is not a program. There's no point and click. You're just writing code. The environment is highly, highly optimized for handling data, and I'll show you some of that. Not particularly big data, but it is very good for kind of medium big data. Couple 100 megs, but maybe no more than that. You can add on anything you want, which is the really cool thing about R. You can write your own functions. And the other cool thing about R is it's open source. So people like me are constantly writing R packages and contributing them so that you can use, I might write a paper on a new method and then I write an R package so that you can use my method without totally rewriting all the code I wrote. So all the cool things in stats are happening in R first. You won't see a company like SAS decide to put it into their commercial software until it's a little more tested. But if you want something cutting edge, maybe even beyond the cutting edge, stuff that doesn't even work, it's going to be there in R. One of my things about R is I like to say that finding your way around R is like finding a place to eat in Philadelphia. It's not like there's one user guide or one training class. If you want to find your way around R, you ask other people. Maybe you ask people who like the same kind of food you like. Or you ask other people and they sell something different, and you just kind of have to assimilate all that information and try a few restaurants and see what you like. That's kind of how R is. R is not intended for point-and-click usage. It is not designed to hide complexity to the user. Things get very complicated very quickly in R, and it doesn't sort of protect you from that in the way that other statistical programs do. And it's not necessarily a fast or easy way to get things done. It just takes time and practice. And what I want to do today is kind of push you up the steep part of the learning curve. So we're not going to get to the point where you're doing all sorts of cool things in R, but I'm going to get you through that annoying first day or two where everything is not making sense. I'm going to try to push you up through that so that then you'll have a good foundation for building in whatever direction. Since we have a wide variety of different disciplines, you'll all be doing different things. All right. So if it's hard to learn R, why is it worth doing? Well, it's optimized for working with data sets. It's relatively simple programming language. This is not like C++. It's pretty easy to learn, more like level of Ruby. There's all kinds of these packages that are going to be available to you. And once you learn how to do something in R, you can very quickly turn it into a function so that you never have to do that again. You just use your function. So you can automate things. When I was at GM about 10 years ago, my friend Thomas Larson, he automated this big report that he had to do. It was a market research report, and he was supposed to spend 2 weeks a month on this report. And he automated the whole thing in R, so it would it's the same report every month with the same sort of English sentences. And he wrote this R code to produce the report. And he didn't tell our boss for 3 months. He spent those weeks doing other programming projects that he was excited about and our boss was less excited about. So it's really good for that kind of stuff if you have to do an analysis over and over. If you're working on your dissertation, you don't know it yet, but you are going to have to do an analysis over and over and over again. So it's nice to kind of spend some time learning R and really write. There's this thing now in statistics called reproducible research, which is you write code to do the analysis, and then when your advisor says, where did this plot come from? And you can't remember because it was 3 months ago. You can go back and read your code, and you know exactly what it was. Where with a point and click thing, it's gone. It's in the ether. You can I don't know how I got that chart exactly. to invest in R is that R skills are in super high demand. Like super duper high demand. I don't know how else to say it. They're important in academic jobs where you're doing any kind of statistical analysis, but they're also important in industry jobs. And if you know a little bit of R because you've been doing some physics in R or something like that, you're highly employable as a data scientist in industry if that ends up being the route you want to take. So I'm going to skip ahead to what do you need to use R. So I've got the links there in the slides for you to download R, and then also a user interface for R called RStudio. So those things work together, and RStudio just gives you a bunch of extra features like the ability to publish your presentations to the web. That's in RStudio. The RPub site is something that RStudio runs. And that's how we got the slides to you today. So how many people have R installed? Great. How many people have RStudio installed? Great, you're all with me, so we'll just jump ahead. Did I publish chapter 2 yet? Can you guys get to chapter 2? So we're going to jump in and actually start doing some stuff. Yeah? Who's with me on chapter 2 in the back? Okay, good. All right. So first we're going to start, and this seems like the most boring place to start, and it's the chapter you skip in the book. But this part about me forcing you up the learning curve, we're gonna go through that stuff, because if you understand it well, you will be able, when problems happen in the future, you'll have the foundational knowledge to figure out what's going wrong. You had a question?
Chapter 1. You wrote it 2 times, chapter 1 and chapter 2.
But there's no chapter 2
No.
yet. So let's do chapter 2. Oh, I see what I did. It's funny, you compile it and then you upload it, and if I forget to do the compile step, it uploads the last one I compiled. So that's what's happening. I'm going to call it really this one chapter 2. Don't you think that's like kind of the coolest thing ever? I just published it, you have access to it. I think that's really nifty. It is a little less than ideal, because ideally we'd have it up on the screen and then you'd have the R in front of you and be focusing on typing things. So this is the point where I say start typing now. If you ever buy my book and I sign it for you, I always sign it start typing now, because you're not going to learn this if you don't start typing now. Make sense? All right, so the first thing is, I need these to know what I'm going to say. So we're going to talk about objects. We're going to talk about the basic data structures in R, which are a little different than other programming languages. Some of them look familiar, but they're really optimized for the kind of data that statisticians deal with a lot. All right, so the first thing I want you to type is x, and then less than, dash, C of 2, 4, 6, 8, close parentheses. Give that a try. I could write these on the board. That would be weird. X less than dash C of 2, 4, 6, 8. So what does that do? That creates an object called x. This is the assignment operator. The way you read it in English is gets. So x gets. And C means what follows is a string of numbers, a list of numbers. 2, 4, 6, 8. Once you type that in, x is in memory in R. If you type x again, just x, enter, see what happens. It spits back 2, 4, 6, 8, because now that's what x is. Make sense? Kind of standard programming stuff. Try typing capital X. What happens? Yeah, why is there an error? Yes. So R is case sensitive. That's like the first mistake everybody makes is they don't pay attention to that and they're like, where did my data go? Well, it's still there. It's just not the name that you're trying to call it. All right.
Sorry, is this in RStudio or just in like R?
Either one.
Either one.
Yeah, I kind of jumped ahead of that. Sorry. So you can use R. And everything I type in, you just type it into R and it'll do all this stuff. RStudio is like a wrapper around R that makes things slightly easier to use. But nothing we're going to do today requires RStudio. All right, so when we did this, we created a vector. So this thing is called a vector, and it's actually a vector of numbers because these are numbers. So the next thing I want you to type is, wow. You guys, do you know how impressive it is that I'm like trying to make this work on the fly? Type x log. Yes, C of true, false, true. And then type x log again and see what that looks like. You there? So now you've created a vector of logical values. That's why we're calling it x log. X log is just a name that I gave it, just so that I remember what it was, but because I put in those trues and falses, it knows that that's a logical vector. And if you do x char,